Hi everybody, it's Kasia from the Niagara-on-the-Lake Public Library here for a special edition early STEAM Storytime. So usually we go live at 11 o'clock, but because it's Remembrance Day, we're going to do it a little bit earlier so that we can kind of talk about why it's Remembrance Day, but also we're going to explore Poppies a little bit. So I thought it would be good to do a little bit earlier, and if you are waiting for the 11 o'clock one, no problem, the video will be up on our Facebook page, and then of course afterwards, if you wanted to show this to a class or to your kids later in the day, we're going to be uploading this to our YouTube channel. So thank you for joining us, people that are popping in. We are going to do a little bit earlier today for Remembrance Day, and I'm just going to wait another minute or so before I flip over the camera and we'll get started. So this is our STEAM Storytime. So every week we meet at 11 o'clock on Wednesdays, a little bit earlier this week, to talk about concepts related to science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And this week we have a science twist, but also kind of a cultural Remembrance Day twist as well. So let's get everything settled here. We'll just wait one more minute, and then we will get started with our STEAM Storytime. Also, in case you're tuning in, as usual, I'm at the library, which you'll be able to see in a minute. Sometimes we have people that walk by, or we hear the doorbell ring. No problem. Those are just exciting things that are happening at the library today. Also, if for any reason my connection drops, I will continue filming this as a video, and then we'll upload it to our YouTube channel afterwards. I'll do my best to get back, but sometimes it doesn't work. So why don't we switch over to the camera? Hi, everybody. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. And thanks for joining us a little bit early this week for STEAM Storytime. I am just going to make sure I have there we go, the next thing ready for you. But we are here for STEAM Storytime, and we're going to be learning about poppies, and we're also going to be talking a little bit about Remembrance Day and what that means. So let's get started with our book. But as usual, I always forget to introduce myself. I'm Kasia from the Niagara-on-the-Lake Public Library, and this is our STEAM Storytime that happens on Wednesdays. So today's book, what we're going to be reading, is a really cool one called Ava's Poppy. This is a fairly new book for me. I just found it at our library, actually. Every once in a while, there's a book that's tucked in that that's kind of snuck past. But today we're going to read this, and I thought, what a perfect day than to read a book about poppies on Remembrance Day. So let me scooch over this way so I can give you more room, give the book more room, me less room. And this book is called Ava's Poppy. And it was published it's written by Marcus Pfister, and it was published in 2012 by Noor-Sood Verlag, with an English translation by North-South Books from New York. So thank you very much for letting us use this beautiful book in our STEAM Storytime. And because we are going to be looking at science and actually a little bit of art today too, this book, if you look up close, I know the cover is a little bit shiny. I'm going to come even closer. Can you see the different textures in that poppy? That's kind of like what we're going to be making later for some STEAM in our STEAM activity. So let's get started with the book. This is Ava's Poppy, written by Marcus Pfister in 2012, with an English translation by North-South Books in New York. So thank you again for letting us use this book in our STEAM Storytime today. Ooh, and look. If we look at this opening cover here, what's happening to that poppy? It's growing, right? It's starting from a little sprout, getting bigger, and the buds blooming, and then the flower, and then, oh look, maybe we'll learn about what happens next. I think it's turning into maybe a seed, a poppy seed. So Ava's Poppy. Okay. Every morning, Ava crossed the field in front of her house. It's not there. It's a poppy. One day, she found a poppy. "You're very beautiful," said Ava. "Please, can I be your friend?" Ava visited her flower every day, and every day she found it right away. It stood out in a field, a lovely shining red. Its petals were very soft, and sometimes they moved gently in the breeze. Together, Ava and her poppy would look up at the sky. Look at that pretty poppy. and it has a black center with a little bit of yellow stuff in the middle. Does anyone know what that yellow stuff would be? Maybe talk to people in the room with you. What could that yellow stuff be? Think of a flower. Pollen. Yeah, it'd be pollen. Ava was always there for her friend. She protected it from the cold wind. She's being a good friend to her flower. She gave it water when the earth was dry. And she put up her umbrella when it rained too hard. She's taking very good care of that poppy. Ava looked after her friend with tender, loving care. But then the flower began to lose its petals. Ava was sad. Oh no. What do you think could be happening to that flower? Let's see what happens. Only the round capsule was still shining, fresh, and green. Does anyone know what would be in that little capsule? I think it's making seeds. It's growing seeds. Let's see. Poor Ava. But soon, that too became brown and dry. Ava dug a hole, laid the capsule inside, and covered it with earth. Goodbye, dear Poppy, whispered Ava. She's feeling sad. She's burying it, right? She's taking care of it by burying it. Ava made a circle of stones to remind her where the flower once stood. She's remembering where the flower was, right? She's taking care to put the stones around so that she can remember where her friend Poppy is. Then winter came. Ava often thought of her friend. The snow would certainly have been too cold for my flower, she said to herself. So we're going through the seasons too. We didn't think about that. We could talk about that in the book. Let's see what happens. In the spring, Ava went back to her stone circle, and there she made a wonderful discovery. In the center of the circle, a tender little plant was reaching up towards the sky. And I think that's the end. So how do you think Ava's feeling now? Probably happier, right? Her poppy friend, her flower, has grown again. So if we look back in the book, and we go back to this page, these are all kind of the stages of the growth or the life cycle of the poppy that Ava saw. So she saw it when it was a little tiny sprout, and it was growing and growing. And I think she discovered it when it was already a flower. So there's that when it's growing, the bud, right? It's about to open into the red flower here. And this is when it's fully open and beautiful. And I think that's what Ava remembers the most. But she also saw when this happened. I'm going to see on the back if it's the same picture. She also saw when that happened, right? When the petals fell down and they're on the ground here. And the poppy started to make a seed pod. So there's little tiny seeds in there that will help the poppy grow again in the next season, in the next spring. And this is what happens too. So that plant put all the energy into the little seeds that are in here. And Ava did the cool thing and she buried it, which is what you do for seeds if you want something to grow, right? And then that seed pod grew into a new flower just like that. And Ava's very happy because she loved that red flower. Okay, that's a really cool book. I love that one. This is Ava's Poppy by Marcus Pfister, and it was published in 2012 by North-South Books in New York. So thank you very much for letting us use this new book in our STEAM Storytime today, a new favorite for sure. So since we talked about poppies, and we talked about the science side of a poppy, how they grow, and what happens in their life cycle really quickly, there's also a special reason that we wear poppies today. So today's November 11th, and we know that as Remembrance Day here in Canada. And November 11th is special because we wear poppies as a sign of remembrance. So remembrance is when we remember things. So we remember all the people, when we wear a poppy, we remember all the people who had gone to war to protect us. So there's people that are Canadian citizens, so men and women who serve for us. And they go all around the world. They've been in different wars, and they help to keep us safe. And when we wear a poppy, that's how we show we remember all those people and people see this, and it knows that we appreciate them and thank them for everything that they do to help keep us safe here in Canada. So what I thought we would do as a Remembrance Day STEAM activity is, because this book was illustrated with paint, we're going to do some painted poppies using one of my very favorite techniques, which is a wax resist and kind of like a watercolor paint. So I have a video to show you, and I wanted to do this one here. So this is a video of a poppy kind of growing and blooming. So I'm wondering if you guys can see that. See how the stem kind of lifts up, and then it opens up like that? Yeah, that's a time-lapse video. So poppies and flowers don't actually grow that quickly. This is a lot of little pictures joined together to make it look like these things are happening really fast. So that's not actually what they look like if you were to watch it, but it is kind of cool, right? We have technology that allows us to do that. But I'm actually going to show you another picture here, another video. And this is a close-up of a poppy. So if we take a look there, yeah, do you see the red and do you see the black in the center? And remember in the story, I mentioned that there were those little tiny bits of yellow. They look kind of greeny white on this part, but that is, yeah, that's what we're going to be making, kind of. We're going to make a whole field of poppies. And actually, before we move on to our artwork, this is the inspiration behind the picture we're going to make. So there's all these different poppies in the field. And if you have an adult in the room with you, maybe ask them to read you the poem Flanders Field later. That's a very important poem about poppies. So this is what we're going to kind of make today. Can you guys see the pods in there as well? See the pods kind of blowing in the wind, and the poppies are reaching up towards the sky for sun. Okay, so let's get down to our artwork here. So I have a piece of paper. I have some crayons. So I have green, and I think these two are black. I wasn't quite sure. I have some blue, and I have a red, because poppies are usually red. Although sometimes you can find poppies that are orange, or I've even seen pink poppies, but they're all pretty close to red. I also have some water, just like that. And I have a paintbrush, and a big paintbrush is good for this project. And then I have some red paint, some blue paint, and some green paint. The red paint's going to be for the poppies. The blue paint's going to be for the, what do you think? For the sky. And then the green paint is going to be for the leaves or the grass, if we decide to put that in there. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our red, and we're going to draw some poppies. So there's two different ways we can draw poppies. I'm going to do both of them in here. One way that I like to do is start with like a little squiggly blob like that, and then make a bigger one around, and then make a bigger one around, just like that. So that's one poppy. And we know that in the center of a poppy, oh, see, that's blue. In the center of a poppy, there is black. So that might look a little bit blue on the camera. It's like a really dark denim blue. But there is one poppy. And if you like, what you can do is take the edge of your crayon and just kind of fill it in just like this, really lightly. We don't want to go too hard, although you can if you like. This is your artwork, so you can make it look however you wish, actually. You can fill it in just like that for some texture. Now, another way you can make a poppy is you can start with the center, and see if I'm just kind of squiggling. This is a little bit of an abstract artwork today. And I'm going to go petal by petal. So I'm going to go like this, around, and connect. This, around, and connect. This, around, and connect. So I have my first layer here. And then what I can do is go like this and do the same kind of shape all the way around. Oh, you know what? Maybe this one's going to go up and over, just like so. Okay, so that's another kind of way that you can do a poppy. And what you can do is the same thing. You can start to fill in with some more texture here. And these are just really quick squiggle lines to make it look kind of more full. And you know what? I'm going to do another leaf there. That's the cool thing about this one. You can just add petals even after you think you're done. That's why I like doing this way. Okay, so I'm going to do another really quick one here. And sometimes the messier these poppies get, the more real they look, because poppies don't always grow or don't always look, perfect like the poppy that I'm wearing on my on my jacket, right? That's a poppy that was made for a symbol of a poppy, but real poppies kind of have these rough edges to them, and they are very soft and very beautiful. Okay, so I've done my poppies here, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some green, and I'm going to just make some kind of like leaves around each poppy, just like so. Just a little bit. And I can kind of go in between and just go like that. And this is up to you, how much foliage you want to add, because we can't have flowers without leaves, because leaves help the flowers get all the nutrients they need right through photosynthesis. And I think that's going to be a STEAM topic we do soon. So that's coming up soon. But today we're making poppies. And actually, once this is finished, I will share later in the comments, I think, or on our Facebook post afterwards, that there is actually a place that if you make beautiful pieces of art or cards for people who are in the wars, there's actually a place you can send them, and they will send them to veterans, and they'll send them to people who are serving in maybe different places around the world, so different soldiers and people in the military that they can send them to. Cool, eh? Okay, so this is where we're at. We're going to do the fun part. We're going to do the wax resist part. So I'm going to take a little bit of water on my brush, just water, and I'm going to start with the blue. So I'm going to take just a little bit of blue paint, and I'm going to make a very thin blue, and I'm going to start to go around those leaves, just like that. It's up to you. You can go right over the leaves, because see how the green still shows through the blue, just like that. Yeah, it looks really pretty. We're adding layers to our painting now. And always add more water, because we want this to look soft. Well, you can make it look however you wish. If you like big, bold colors, I usually do too. But today, I think this would look good if we make it a little bit softer, just like so. There we go. Keep going, just like that. I'm going to do a little bit of a stronger blue here, and this blue is actually very, very light. It looks really dark here, but when I add water, it's actually quite translucent. Yeah, it's really cool. Translucent means you can see through it. So you know what, I'm going to wash my brush, and it's okay that there's still water on it, because I'm going to add a little bit of that water into the green to make like a watercolor green, and I'm going to put a little bit of that over top of my leaves, just like so. Maybe this green will get closer to my poppies. And we're going to do the poppies last, because I want them to stand out the most. So this is just the background of our artwork. So it's the layers that surround the thing you want to have the most importance, which are going to be the poppies. You want them to stand out the most. And these layers help build your piece of art. That's an important part of STEAM, knowing the different steps in creating something. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take some red, and I'm going to make that watercolor by mixing a little bit of water into the red, just like so. And I'm going to start to paint over some of these areas. And see how here the red is kind of bleeding. It's kind of going into the other colors around it. That looks really pretty when it dries. It makes it look extra soft. Yes, it's a nice texture that we're adding to our STEAM Storytime activity today. Yeah, so we're just about done. So you can make big poppies like I've made here, and I'm going to add some extra water in here. You can make big poppies like I've made here, or you can actually make like a field of poppies. So you can make lots of tiny little poppies and paint it the same way and get a different look with the same kind of technique. So I've made our poppies for Remembrance Day right here. And like I said, once this is dry, maybe I'll take a picture and email it to that link that I was telling you about that you can send in artwork, or if you want to write a note to somebody or a card and say thank you for everything, you can totally make a card like this, write a little note and send it to that spot that I was telling you about that will send it to people who are in the military and serving, and you can show them how much you care and how much you're thankful for what they're doing for us. Yeah. Okay, So let me switch back over to this video. I just want to show you one more time. Actually, you know what? Let's do, yeah, we'll do the video, the bloom one more time, because that one's really cool while I reset up my camera for our goodbye. But yeah, this one's really cool. Isn't that so neat? I love that. And then this is another close-up. So it's very similar to what we made in our artwork, what I made in our artwork. So see how there's the edges are kind of ruffled and there's many different layers to the poppies. Going around in squiggles like that will make it look kind of realistic, just like that, right? So let me hold this up, and it might drip a little bit. But yeah, see how that's very similar to what we just made? Yeah. Okay. So that is our STEAM Storytime today. So at 11 o'clock, what you can do is try to be quiet and still for 2 minutes as you think about all the different reasons to thank somebody for protecting us in our country, okay? It's okay if you can't sit still for the whole 2 minutes, but you just want to take a little bit of time and be thankful for everything that they do for us on Remembrance Day. And if you have a poppy, you can put a poppy on. If you see other people with poppies, you can tell them now you know why you wear them, right? So thank you again for joining us for our STEAM Storytime today. If you were able to stay for the whole thing, amazing. If you weren't, don't worry. We're going to be uploading this to our YouTube channel. And yes, that will be very shortly. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. And we will see you next week at 11 o'clock for STEAM Storytime. Yes. So, oh, and if you make any pictures of poppies, I would love to see them. So you can always send me a picture on social media, or you can send it to my email, which is on the side there. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to see your amazing artwork. So again, have a wonderful Wednesday, and we'll see you next week at 11 o'clock for STEAM Storytime. Bye, everybody.